Welcome to Yahoo Sports Daily. She's Caroline Fenton. I'm Jason Fitz. I'll be honest, I was trying to figure out what day of the week it was, and then I realized it's Wednesday. Hump day. Happy Hump Day. There we go. Look, Josh, always ready on the trigger with it. She's Caroline Fenton. I'm Jason Fitz. We have got a stacked couple of hours. The great, the legendary, the amazing Ernie Johnson going to join us today in the show, and the always hysterical Jay Pharoah going to join us. Like, we are all over the place with greatness, Caroline. But let's start with a little bit of NFL coaching news, because yesterday, 2 more jobs were filled. And it occurs to us that that means that there are still 6 jobs open. That's right, 6 jobs open. We're almost to the end of January. 6 teams still don't have a head coach. So, Caroline, what do you say we play a little matchmaker here? We're going to figure out which coach is going to end up with which of these 6. You're fully in on this. You are going to do a better job than I.
Oh, I love this.
On this. Look, I'm excited. We're going to do a lot with the coaches, but I'm excited for this one in particular. They've got it up for us. Okay, we made our picks. We went up and down the list. You put Arthur Smith in Arizona. I like that call.
I did. So I so believe in relationships. I mean, so much of football, coaching, GMs, it's all about where did you coach together before? What are your relationships? Just look in Miami, right? John Eric Sullivan, the new general manager in Miami, was a Green Bay lifer. What did he do? He went out and hired the Packers defensive coordinator, Jeff Hafley. So Arthur Smith has a former relationship with Arizona GM Monty Austinforth. They spent time together with the Tennessee Titans. I also don't think Arizona is a very desirable job. It is an organization with 0 history. It's an organization with a total and complete train wreck on the roster at the quarterback position. I also don't think Arthur Smith is an overly desirable candidate. So I feel like it's a team and a coach that might be left at the end of this entire process without dates to the prom. And they say, what do you say? We go together. So makes sense to me.
Look, I love the way you phrase that, because we did the same thing. Like, when I got to the Arizona job, I kept thinking, who's a coach that's going to be out there that maybe everybody doesn't covet but really wants an opportunity? I came up with Vance Joseph, currently the defensive coordinator for the Broncos. Obviously has been a head coach before. I know Cardinals fans are up. The rumors that he was even being considered had Cardinals fans saying, what? We deserve better. No, you don't. No, this is just the way this one's going to come together. I think Arizona is going to sort of be not the only team I had stuck at the altar in this process, including my favorite team. Baltimore, we both agree, Clint Kubiak on this. I feel like Baltimore is the most desirable to many people of these jobs. It's between Baltimore and Buffalo, obviously. And if you're Clint Kubiak and you could go work with somebody like Lamar and you can go work with Derrick Henry, you can sort of bring your offensive ideas from Seattle over to Baltimore. I keep thinking that Clint Kubiak is the most coveted of all of these candidates that we have remaining. And as a result, I put him in one of the 2 most coveted jobs. That's why I put him in Baltimore.
That was my exact rationale. Best job available, best candidate available. Also, I feel like Clint Kubiak is what Lamar Jackson deserves. Lamar Jackson, 2-time, could have been 3-time MVP, deserves a head coach that speaks his language, deserves a head coach that can add some extra spice and pizzazz into this offense. I would love to see Clint Kubiak in Baltimore. And just getting a pulse on the fan base just throughout social media. And I understand that social media oftentimes can be a very vocal minority, but it sounds like so many Ravens fans are just hoping and praying that Clint Kubiak is the guy. Doesn't mean that he's going to be successful there. Doesn't mean he will win a Super Bowl there, but it just means right now he's the most desirable candidate. And I think that the best job available deserves the most desirable candidate.
About an hour ago, Adam Schefter tweeted out the Bills requested a head coach interview with former Giants head coach Brian Daboll. You have him landing in Buffalo?
I have him ultimately landing in Buffalo. Now, our Bills fan extraordinaire / producer extraordinaire, Josh Golden, he gave us kind of an inside look into all things the Bills organization. Told us the Pagulas absolutely, positively love Brian Daboll. Brian Daboll's been in Buffalo before. Brian Daboll is familiar with Josh Allen. A lot of people have pointed to Brian Daboll as being a big reason why Josh Allen has blossomed into the elite, potentially even best quarterback in the league that he's turned into after he, kind of had his warts at the beginning of his career. So I think bringing Brian Daboll back would be kind of poetic, especially after having experience being a head coach, finding some success with the Giants, and then ultimately kind of falling flat on his face with the Giants. Did he learn from it? Is he far enough removed from his experience with the Giants to be able to acknowledge where he went wrong as a head coach with the New York Giants? That's still kind of what I have pause with. I don't think it would be the perfect match made in heaven, but it makes sense.
Yeah, I put Davis Webb there, and I cried a little bit while I did it because Dragons, who I want for my favorite team. But look, I
Dragon.
think, second best available job, depending on who you ask. Somebody that has a great relationship already with Josh Allen. It just makes a lot of sense to me. I'm sad, I'm bummed, but I put Dragon in Buffalo. Cleveland, I went with Schwartz, who's already there. Look, again, this is one of many sort of stuck at the altar. The devil, you just say, all right, well, let's just keep running it. So I sort of defaulted myself to Schwartz as the head coach there, but you went Grant Udinski.
I went with the guy that could be Jim Schwartz's grandson. I actually asked a Browns fan in my life, who do you want? Like, you have been swimming through the sea of suck for so long. Who do you want to be your head coach? And he said Grant Udinski, and he couldn't get it fast. He couldn't get it out fast enough. And I do think there is an interesting philosophy when it comes to head coaching positions. When you look at young guys, Davis Webb, Dragon Webb, and Grant Udinski, these 30, 31, 32-year-old absolute phenoms. Do you take whatever job is available because these jobs like maybe Baltimore or Buffalo aren't going to go for a younger guy? So you take one of these jobs available just because there's 32 of these jobs available and you take any opportunity that you can get. I might see that kind of thought process both for Dragon and for Grant Udinski, taking what aren't the most desirable jobs on the market. And there's the other school of thought of, look, I'm 30, 32 years old. I'm going to get another crack at this. I'm going to just hang on and stay where I am and continue to, just do what I'm doing, continue to learn, continue to get more experience, and then hope that there is a better job that opens up whenever maybe I am a more ready-made product. I think it just kind of depends on the person. I think it just depends on the philosophy, but I kind of went for both Cleveland and the Raiders, young guys that are just looking to get some opportunities as a head coach in the league.
If you're trying to figure out why we're calling Davis Webb Dragon, go watch any of yesterday's interview with Tom Feliciano. It'll make it all make sense. You put Dragon in Vegas, which, by the way, if that happens, drinks on me in San Francisco at the Super Bowl. I'll be so ecstatic.
That was also a gift for you, Fitz.
Thank you very much. That is my dream. That is what I would like. Dragon drafts Fernando, and everybody's happy. I couldn't get there because I put him in the Buffalo job, which meant I felt like I'm looking at my favorite team like dodgeball was for me as a fat kid growing up. Like everybody picked their team and you're just the ones left standing. The Raiders are left standing. I believe they want an offensive mind that can develop a quarterback. I believe that's going to be important. So even though they've interviewed some defensive minds, I don't think that's where they're going to go. So then they take a reach. They couldn't get the one Kubiak everybody wants. So they take ... His brother, Clay Kubiak. Yes, that is not a misprint by us. Clay Kubiak is the offensive coordinator of the 49ers. Many of you don't know that. So I ended up sort of defaulting to Clay Kubiak, and I felt about as gross about it as you feel seeing it on the screen. We both went with different established coaches.
He does
in Pittsburgh.
exist.
I went... Yes, he does. Go Google and just ask Nettie, Google him. I went McCarthy. You went McDermott in Pittsburgh. I think we both went experience, but we went different directions.
Yeah, I think the Steelers probably want to go in the experience direction, also understanding how much building this roster has to do over the next couple of years. And also Sean McDermott, very blue-collar, gritty kind of coach that I think just fits that Pittsburgh identity so well.
Yeah, 100%. McCarthy, his ties to Pittsburgh, they bring in somebody established. I think established feels like the right move for the Steelers. Okay, we've played matchmaker. We will see how that plays forward, obviously, as we continue to get more coaching news. It's a day of the week. I'm sure there will be some. In the meantime, there is other news that is out there in the NFL, including some drama. Don't know if you guys saw this, but Kevin Stefanski catching strays from Baker Mayfield on Twitter X. A Falcons beat reporter turned around and made a comment about the failures at the quarterback position that Kevin Stefanski had to deal with, including Baker. Baker quote tweeted that with this: "Failed is quite the reach, pal. Still waiting on a text call from him after I got shipped off like a piece of garbage. Can't wait to see you twice a year, coach." Baker Mayfield making it very, very clear that he is ready to take on Kevin Stefanski. You like this drama?
Well, let me just say, when you call someone a pal or a buddy, that's not very nice. That is not very nice. That's when you know that you mean business. I love the drama. I love what this is going to do, hopefully, maybe, for the Falcons-Bucks rivalry. I think the NFC South needs that. I think the NFC South is such a kind of snoozy division, honestly. The Saints and Falcons are bitter rivals. I don't know how much people outside of that bubble, that side of the country, really understand and know how bitter of a rivalry that is. So I want the NFC South to have more of this. I want more drama. I want more rivalries. I want more, just more to it. So I kind of love that in that sense. I don't need a starting quarterback in the NFL clapping back at a beat reporter who's just doing his job. Like, Baker, you have proven everyone wrong. Everyone had their minds made up that Baker Mayfield was a bust in this league after getting shipped out of Cleveland, after being a backup in Carolina and being a backup with the Rams. But he's redeemed himself, doing it the best way possible, doing it on the field, proving all of us wrong, proving that he is one of the top 10, 15 quarterbacks in this league, proving that he is a franchise quarterback in this league. You don't have to prove that to everybody on Twitter. And also, is it wrong to say that Baker Mayfield failed in Cleveland? Whether you want to fault the Cleveland Browns organization for that, which I do, or whether you want to blame Baker Mayfield himself for that, I don't agree with you, but you are entitled to your own opinion. But Baker Mayfield was the number 1 overall pick and is no longer in Cleveland. I would call that, blame whoever you want, a failure.
Yeah, I think there's also a moment here where even Baker has admitted, when I've talked to him in the past, that he's grown up a lot. Sometimes, as much as he's going to look at it and say, still waiting on that text or call, I think Baker probably could look back at his chapter in Cleveland and wonder if there were some things he could have done differently. Wonder if he always treated everybody the way that he now treats people. Wonder if maybe he's gone through a little bit of growth. Maybe this is one of those situations where both Baker and Stefanski could afford to grow up and grow out a little bit from this. I'm all in for drama. We all know athletes are going to find chips on their shoulders wherever they may. But to clap back on failure as quite a reach was interesting. Also, there's just some portion of Baker's career in Cleveland that Baker will always have to own. It wasn't everybody else's fault that Baker wasn't the Baker of today. That was largely Baker not being mature enough in that moment, at least from everything we've been told, from whether it's from reporters or whether it's from people around the organization. It certainly feels like Baker has grown into a different man. Maybe Stefanski has too. But either way, I'm here for the drama. Maybe getting some drama in the coaching circles, too. We want to make sure you get caught up on a little piece of news here. It looks like Mike McDaniel is going to be the offensive coordinator for the Chargers. Now, I say looks like because it's not a done deal yet, but it is, as they're saying now, he's expected to become the Chargers' next offensive coordinator. There is still a thin chance he could take a head coaching job somewhere else, but it certainly looks like this is as good as done and should be official very, very soon. What do you think of the pairing here? You've got Harbaugh, who's one of the weirdest dudes in the NFL, with Mike McDaniel, who's ... one of the weirdest dudes in the NFL.
Weird. And they both have their own specific brands of weird. It's not the same weird, but it is quite a quirky, zany little pairing between Jim Harbaugh and Mike McDaniel. I don't know how many glasses of milk Mike McDaniel is going to be drinking, and I don't know how many vape pens that Jim Harbaugh is going to be huffing. But I do love this pairing. I do love Mike McDaniel with the Los Angeles Chargers. I love that Justin Herbert, I almost said Justin Harbaugh, Justin Herbert is going to have a guy in Mike McDaniel that speaks his language. I love that Jim Harbaugh could kind of step back and say, look, my identity is being rough on the lines of scrimmage and running the football, but we're not going to win a Super Bowl that way. What Mike McDaniel can add is some explosiveness to the offense. When you have a quarterback like Justin Herbert, your offense deserves to be explosive. So credit to Jim Harbaugh for acknowledging where his team needs to be upgraded and where that's not his expertise, and finding one of the best to supplement that.
Yeah, this is a great hire. I mean, the Chargers go out and get, in the eyes of most, the best offensive coordinator you could possibly have out here available on the market. And they are in a division where they're taking on Sean Payton and they're taking on Andy Reid. And so you need all hands on deck if you want the Chargers to grow into the best version of the Chargers that they could possibly be. I do think styles make fights, and it's interesting that these are two very stylistically different people when it comes to how they run their offense. So it'll be interesting to see how they marry those things together. But certainly if you're Mike McDaniel and you're going to pick a job and you're going to continue to work as an offensive coordinator, you want to go somewhere that has a quarterback. And Justin Herbert is a renowned quarterback by many in this league. even though his playoff performances haven't necessarily lived up to that. So maybe they see Mike McDaniel as the cheat code that finally gets him over the top, and McDaniel sees Justin Herbert as the person that can remind everybody just how great McDaniel can be when his quarterback's not named Tua. We'll keep you updated, though, because you never know. If there's anything we've learned in this coaching cycle is it gets wild, and it gets wild quickly. Speaking of wild, let's get to the NBA. Coming up next, all of the thoughts about that man, Steph. Is there a possibility Steph could be a Hornet? It's not a misspeak. We'll tell you about it next.
At the very top of my list, we need finality to Aspinall versus Gunn.
Yeah.
We need finality to this.
Have to.
I just want to see this fight play out because guess what? It was a very entertaining fight and it was playing out in a way that I think a lot of people didn't think it would play out. So I need to see that fight. I have to see that fight. The division needs to see that fight. They both need to see that fight. They both earned it and deserved it, and we can't move on without that fight.
Do the Spurs still take Dylan Harper over Con Knipple and VJ Edgecombe?
I think for me, if I was to do it all over again, I would still take the best pick available, and that is Dylan Harper. I mean, you see, he just is such an elite creator.
Prior to the draft, Mo, I was pretty consistent in saying that I would trade down and take a Con Knipple. Con at 4, I still think would have been the best possible outcome for San Antonio, and I feel that way even more strongly at this point.
All football teams are dams. Some of them have a ton of cracks. Some of them have a few cracks. It's all about who faces enough water pressure from their schedule to expose the cracks. Most of the time when you're playing in the Big Ten or the SEC, you're going to face several tests that will expose your cracks. I don't think Ohio State did this year. They faced Texas early in the year, and they just never faced enough pressure to expose the cracks.
Did you notice that the scoring totals had fallen in the new year, that the New Year's resolution apparently was to bring physicality back?
A couple of years ago when it was all of a sudden everybody scored 50, 60, 70. And then like the air went out of the ball for a month. And it was like in the middle of the season, the way the rules were being called kind of changed and scoring started to drop.
Look, to be fair, Dan, it could be, hey, everyone just magically figured out how to play legal defense.
Steph Curry ever said, I want to play Hornets. And he said, I want the number 30. Would you give it back to him or no?
Yeah, he already asked me that. That was a quick, we take it down for that, no doubt.
So that was Charlotte Hornets legend Del Curry, whose number is about to be retired, number 30, retired by the team in March, leaving the door open for Steph to return because Steph could use it. I mean, it'd be weird if Steph couldn't use his dad's number, but they would take it out of the rafters. It seemed like an insane idea, but then Jimmy Butler tears his ACL, put serious doubts on the short-term, long-term future of the Warriors, and now all of a sudden we're sitting here saying, is there a chance that Steph could want to go home and wear his dad's number for his dad's team? Could you see a chance that we get Steph to Charlotte before the trade deadline?
Well, as somebody that lives in Charlotte, I hope so. And I will enjoy the $20 Hornets tickets that I get now while I have them, because I'm sure if Steph Curry comes to town, they're going to go up pretty quickly. My question, though, is, and if the Golden State Warriors do get to a point where they're like, okay, we are okay and we are comfortable moving on from Steph, which is, I think, conversations that the Warriors should be having at this point in the way that the team is constructed, and especially since Jimmy Butler's injury. My question, if I'm the Warriors, is I'm gonna do my star player, my franchise player, and I'm gonna do by him right. I'm gonna ask Steph Curry, what do you want? What do you want at this point in your career when you have more basketball behind you than you have ahead of you? What are your priorities? Are your priorities just, making the most money possible? Fine. If that's what he wants, then that's fine. Are your priorities winning a championship? Because you're not going to win a championship in Golden State. You're not going to stay in Golden State and contend for a championship at this point. So, do you want to go to a championship contender now? That might be easier said than done. Because at this point, what championship contenders are looking to shake things up and supplement their roster at this point and give up the assets that it would take to acquire Steph Curry? The other question is, do you just want to go home? You're 36. You have a bunch of kids. Your career is coming to a close. At what point that will be, I don't know. But at this point, do you just kind of want to fulfill the prophecy? Wear your old man's jersey, play in your hometown in Charlotte, if that's what he wants. And I could see a world where that is a possibility. Look at him. He's a little baby in his little Hornet shirt. If that's what he wants, then I could see Steph to Charlotte being a reality.
Yeah, I think home is such an interesting part of this conversation. And that it's something that not a lot of people think about in these situations. We just look at athletes and just presume that we can understand everything that they want in their life. And it's a difficult thing to do from a distance. I always say it's dangerous presuming what rich people will do regarding money, and presuming how people are drawn to certain areas or drawn away from certain areas is dangerous. So you make a really strong point. We don't know this part. And if Charlotte is a place that he sees as a special place in his heart, the chance to go back and play with his dad's number, take it out of the rafters, that could mean something to him. That's why it gets so interesting when we try and put ourselves in athlete's shoes, because you see those moments and it just reminds you of the history he has there that might be a pull to him. It might also not. We just don't know. That being said, our producers got big Hornets fans. We got big Hornet workers here. So we didn't have to ask Doug twice. He put together an actual trade. This actually works in the trade machine. We'll pull it up. We have found the trade machine that was accepted. All right, fake trade. Curry to the Hornets, and it's LaMelo, Josh Green, 2027 first, which is top 14 protected, and a 2028 and 2030 first, top 4 protected. That's what the Warriors would receive, and the Hornets get Steph Curry. Who says no?
Would you call our Hornets producer a busy bee?
Oh, okay. Doug Busy Bee Branson is now going to be the Busy Bee Branson is now going to be the this is working for
Busy
me. This
bee
works for
behind
me.
the scenes.
Okay, there we go.
Who says no to this trade? To get back on track here, talk business. Who says no to this trade? I think Golden State. Look, this is a haul. 3 firsts and 3 recent firsts. We're not talking like a 2038 first round pick. Like, these are first round picks that can be actually tangibly help you over the next 5 to 10 years. And then Melo and Josh Green, that's an absolute haul. I think we're close. But if I'm Golden State, I have to swallow the big ol' honker of a pill that it would be to trade Steph Curry, to trade a legend, to trade an icon, to trade a guy that I'm sure we all have viewed as a Golden State lifer, the kind of player that stays with the same team for the entirety of his career, to make that worthwhile. And again, I always go back to, what does Steph want? If Steph wants to go to Charlotte, well, then maybe you can rationalize and justify a trade like this a little bit more, knowing that you are doing right by your superstar. But if I'm Golden State, I think I can get a little bit more out of this. I can just squeeze a little bit more juice out of that lemon. Who says no? Golden State. If I'm the Hornets, heck yeah. What do you want? I get Steph Curry, even if it's just 2 to 3 years of Steph Curry. What's the priority in Charlotte? I think is getting butts in seats, being interesting, being a story. The Charlotte Hornets aren't that right now. So Steph Curry instantly makes the Hornets must-see TV, one of the hottest tickets in town, and a story.
Yeah, you're right. From a Charlotte standpoint, okay, what do you guys want? Like, the minute the phone rings, you pick it up, you're like, oh, you didn't like that? What do you want? Like, that's fine. From the other side of it, though, so years ago, like when the band that I was in was doing really well, there was a school that won this competition, right? And it was like a major recording artist is going to come do a free show. We had #1 song in the world. And I'll never forget, before we went on stage, the crowd was chanting Justin Timberlake's name because they were convinced it was Justin Timberlake. We went out on stage. We had #1 song. Nobody cared. They were just not happy because they wanted Justin Timberlake. All right. That's LaMelo going into this situation where it's like, if you're a Warriors fan and they're just imagine this, peek behind the curtain, the Wizard of Oz reveal here where they turn around to the fan base, Kerr standing out there, the arena's packed, and they're saying, ladies and gentlemen, we have traded Steph Curry, but you're not going to believe what we got. And everybody's on the edge of their seat. And they say, we got a first rounder in 2027. Crowd goes nuts. First rounder in 28. Crowd goes nuts. First rounder in 30. Crowd goes nuts. We got Josh Green. Smattering of applause. But here we go. And then everybody waits for the big reveal. We got LaMelo. I mean, if you're a Warriors fan, like you're just turning around saying you want how much for season tickets for this? Like, just tell me you're hitting a rebuild. Honestly, I'd rather have all draft picks, and I know that that's not necessarily easy because of salary, blah, blah, blah. I get that. Let me live in an altruistic world for a second. I'd rather have all draft picks and just go to everybody and say, yep, we're going to suck. We are going to suck, but it's going to get better eventually, than have to try and sell everybody. Like, LaMelo just feels like he would be so lost in this process. It's almost a disservice to LaMelo, who, by the way, is not a bad player. I'm not sitting – it sounds like I'm being really harsh to LaMelo. I am not. I'm just saying that standing in the shadow of Steph to Golden State, LaMelo trying to fill those shoes is just utterly impossible, Caroline.
And that's especially asking that from a guy whose maturity has been in question. That is he ready to be that marquee player under the lights? That's been a big question in Charlotte. If I'm Golden State, I want as close to a sure thing as possible. And it's not every day that you're going to get an absolute 100% sure thing slam dunk in any trade, because if that guy is a sure thing, then why is he on the trading block? So of course you're not going to get Steph Curry in return for Steph Curry. But if I'm Golden State, I do need a little bit more of a sure thing, or at least I need to have the assurance that LaMelo would be stepping into this spotlight, which is what Golden State is. You know, it's not Charlotte anymore. Like, now you are going into, and that's no disrespect to the Charlotte Hornets, but let's just be honest about where both of these organizations are. We're talking about the Golden State Warriors. That is a much larger spotlight. That is a much harsher press corps, I would believe. And that's a much larger market that now LaMelo is going to be under the microscope in. Is LaMelo Ball ready for that?
Yeah, and so through all of the trade conversation here,
and a heck of a
one
player.
portion of trade, one player we haven't mentioned in all of this trade talk is Jonathan Kuminga, which is interesting. Last night, Mike Dunleavy, the GM of the Golden State Warriors, met with the media, gave a very blunt assessment, had the quote of the year at this point when he was asked about the trade market for Kuminga and the demands. He has said, quote, "I'm aware of that," in regards to the demands. "In terms of demands, when you make a demand, there needs to be demand." So what do you think of Dunleavy coming out and saying to make demand, there must be? Oh, yeah, it is. 100%.
Totally a bar. I think he's saying, look, what we want in return is not out there. I don't think he's being cryptic. I don't think that he's trying to play this game of ad libs. I think he's saying, I want something, but in order for that something to happen, I need somebody else to give me something in return. That's not there. So whether it's zero demand or whether it's just not meeting what he believes Jonathan Kuminga could demand in a trade, that it's just not out there.
Yeah, and I read this so much as him speaking to the agent and to the rest of the league and saying, hey, I know he wants to be dealt, but we're not going to deal him for peanuts. So he's turning around and telling Kuminga, you know, I get it. And my mom used to always say, people in hell want ice water, right? Like, I get you want to be traded. People in hell want ice water. Like, I'm not going to trade you just because you want to be traded. And he's very clearly saying there must be demand. So I think he's also sending a message to the rest of the league. Hey, you don't think we're going to trade him for absolutely nothing. We'll keep you updated because I'm sure there'll be more breaking news with that as the Warriors try and figure out how to move forward. We will move forward next, though. Coming up, we will talk to one of the best in the business, the legend, the great Ernie Johnson, going to join us next.
One school that's doing some work in there right now, very quietly, is the Florida Gators. At the time of us taping this, Florida is sitting there with a top 10 class. And you're like, JD, wait a second. Florida's got a top 10 class? Who have they added? And I think this portal class in general for John Summerall is a good reflection of just the overall vibe, attitude, persona of what you're going to get from John Summerall during his time in Gainesville.
And I've been thinking about the Denver Nuggets here for a little bit. Jamal Murray's gonna have to carry the torch during this program. Like, it's I know it's the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air looking around and no furniture around, but hey, he's got to figure it out. What I will say that helps Denver is the return of this version of Aaron Gordon. And I very specifically mean this version of Aaron Gordon. And I know you might have a twinge of concern that he may do too much, but it was good early and they need it now.
Have you had a chance to kind of unpack all of it?
Yeah, I don't know that I have yet. I think it's just another reminder of how wild pro football can be. I've lived it so many times. I mean, I think going back a little over 2 years ago when I tore my Achilles to now, there's been a lot of curveballs and a lot of change. And I was told a long time ago in pro football, you got to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And I'm reminded of that time and again.
How long do you feel like that window is with Lamar, though?
I think you can get 2 more years of Lamar as a locked-in top 5 guy. And then I think after that is when it's like, okay, maybe he ages to more being a top 12 guy, which is still good. Maybe more of a tier 2 guy in my brain. And then it kind of ages from there. Russ went from like a tier 2 guy that fell off to a tier 3, tier 4 guy. You're going to have that drop off at some point in your career.
Inside the NBA on ESPN. Same show, new spot. We all know it. We're pleased to welcome in a legend. He is the heartbeat of Inside the NBA, has been for decades. The man, the myth, the legend, an Emmy winner, a sports broadcaster, Hall of Fame inductee. The accolades go on and on. The great Ernie Johnson. Ernie, man, we appreciate your time this morning. Thanks for hanging out with us.
No, certainly. You guys are certainly overdoing it on the intro, but really... But anything over 20 minutes usually makes me uncomfortable. So thanks for keeping it short.
Well, you know what? You wrote a book, so you can't keep anything short when you write a book. Unscripted, the unpredictable moments that make life extraordinary. All right, so walk me through that. As somebody that's gone through so much, how do you even go through the process of deciding to write this book?
It was an interesting set of circumstances, really, Jason, because we got a lot of dynamics going on in the family, and ESPN back in the day, Jeremy Schaap decided he wanted to do a story on our family, and that was pretty strange for a guy from ESPN to want to do a story on a guy from TNT. But everybody said, okay, let's do it, and so once that story aired, then it was like people were asking me, and my agent were like, hey, is he written a book? Is he going to write a book? And that kind of thing. And so then that's where it took off. And it's been unbelievable. I mean, the whole process of writing a book is really cathartic. It's really tough. But ultimately so satisfying. And to have people still to this day, because this was back in 2017, that I wrote it, but people still to this day sending me copies of the book for me to sign and bringing it up out of the blue and that kind of thing. So yeah, it's very cool. And I appreciate you bringing it up too.
Very cool for people who are fans of you and fans of the show to kind of get a peek behind the curtain of what life is like for Ernie Johnson. We see what you've done in your career. You have such a historic and storied career. But what about Ernie Johnson, the person? Outside of work, outside of TV, outside of, Shaq and Chuck going at each other on TV, what fills up your cup?
It's, I've always told folks this TV job is not, it's what I do, but it's not who I am, and I just think it's always important to remember that you can't just be defined by oh yeah, you're the TNT guy, oh you're the guy who stands next to Shaq. That's my job. But look, married to Cheryl Ann for 43 years, 6 kids, 5 grandkids, and had dealt with the loss of a child at 30, when he was 33, which was and continues to be a very difficult thing for me. But that's the real life stuff. And so we're just trying to, live in the moment, take every day, enjoy it for what it's worth, be very thankful for the job that I have, obviously. I mean, that's a get-to job. But at the same time, remembering what's truly important.
We have been able to watch Inside the NBA since 1990, right? And so obviously it's an institution.
Make me feel a little older, Jason, will you please?
Hey, come on now. Like this is part of all of our lives, right? But people were freaking out, to be honest, when everybody knew it was moving from TNT to ESPN. So for you, through that transition, how different has it felt?
Amazingly, it hasn't felt really different at all. I mean, I think the thing that I had to concentrate the most on was not saying TNT, saying, "Oh, okay, this is on ESPN." But the fact that we're all still together, that the production crew's the same, that the camera folks are the same, that the building is the same, and thankfully, look, ESPN's been great to work with. They really have. And I know there were concerns last year when we knew this was going to happen. Hey, are they going to take the show over and make it something that it shouldn't be? But they have stayed arm's distance. They're there when we're doing the show. Their executives are there, a couple at least. And it's like, they're just like, it's great watching what you guys do. And their stance has been, look, we know what the show has been and what it's meant to basketball fans. We're just glad we can continue it on this platform with you guys still together. And I'm thankful for that too. Just to hang out with those clowns is really fun. And when you're together that long, it's just it's been weird. There are a couple of times where I thought, what if this had ended? I said, I mean, it would have been an empty feeling going into this basketball season, just watching games and not having any stake in it. But no, it's great that we're back and things haven't changed a bit.
And I think there were a lot of fans of the show that were concerned with that potential reality as well, because there's a reason why this show has been on for so long. And it's all those great moments, Shaq questioning what's closer to Atlanta, LA, or the moon, or Chuck washing his jersey in the shower, or the gas prices, so many just classic moments that have become viral moments throughout the years. But what is your favorite inside the NBA memory?
Caroline, you just brought up a few of them right there. That's for sure. But that's what's made the show so much fun. It's a basketball show that every now and then touches on basketball, but sometimes does touch on the fact that I can look outside and see the moon, but I can't see LA, so the moon must be closer. It's that kind of stuff. Yeah, the diaper changing contest with the Chuckster was big. I think renaming the studio the Champions Club, so Chuck couldn't get in one night, was great. The Kobe Bryant new shoes Kenny takeoff when he wanted to duplicate Kobe's jumping over the Aston Martin. That I think I would recommend if somebody's on YouTube or something, just find that, because start to finish it was hilarious. And the fact that Kobe had a huge playoff game that night and joined us live and watched it for the first time just like we did, just made it really special.
How have you guys managed to manage ego? And I don't mean ego is a bad word, Ernie. I think a lot of times people say ego is a negative thing. I think when you've accomplished what Chuck and Charles and you and everybody on that show has accomplished, how do you manage to grow together, but also respect the fact that those guys played so much in the league and had such Hall of Fame caliber careers, and you're also superstars? How do you keep everybody gelled together and humble in that situation?
Well, I think viewers would probably say, well, he doesn't always. And so I think that, every show is somewhere between, a disaster and a walk on the beach. We kind of walk that line. But I think the thing that hasn't changed through all of this is the respect we have for one another. And it's going to sound really corny. We love each other. We would do anything for the other one. And so when you're together that long, and Kenny and Chuck and I better than 20 years, Shaq for the last 13, we just have something there that I think we're all appreciative of the job. We all come at the game from different angles. I'm never going to try to take the standpoint as a former player. I got 3 of those guys right there. I'm just trying to get them to where they're going to shine. So give everybody their touches, challenge them when they say something bizarre. And I think the unpredictable nature of that show is what has attracted fans. If they don't know what's going to happen next, neither do I. So I think that's what's done it. So there's really not any managing of egos. It's just kind of like, look, all you guys have wonderful credentials, and and let's just tap into your knowledge of the game or your knowledge of gas prices or the distance to the moon.
Has there been a time, though, where maybe they pushed a little too hard? Like, let's be honest, Ernie, has there been a time where your co-host just flat out pissed you off? Like, we could take any advice here as co-host. So, like, has there been a time where maybe afterwards it bubbled over a little bit?
Chuck dared Kenny to rip up my format for the post-game show one night. I jot down some things on an index card, on one of those big index cards, and it's kind of my roadmap to the show, and I might jot a couple of notes down in there. And Chuck in the commercial break looked at Kenny and says, "I dare you to tear those up." And we were on the road doing the show. And Kenny reached over, ripped them up, and that pissed me off pretty good. And so I think that was one of those things where it's like, look, we have built this show on respect, and that was a moment where, and I was serious, that's a moment you disrespected the job I do. And it hasn't happened since. Because I was ready to throw coffee across the table at that dude.
As an obsessive note taker in the middle of shows, I feel you on that one. But you mentioned how Shaq was an addition later on into the show's tenure. And at the time when Shaq was an addition, I think there was some pushback from a lot of fans of, why mess with a good thing? Is Shaq going to be a good fit with everyone? Is the chemistry going to work? When was the moment when you knew, oh, no, Shaq is a good addition to the show and this will work?
Yeah, I mean, I think, Caroline, it took a little while. Nobody's going to jump right into a situation like this with three guys who have been together for so long and automatically click. And so that wasn't a surprise to me. I just think he needed to get a feel for the show, aside from the fact that he could have a lot of fun. I think that's what attracted him to TNT in the first place, is that he'd been watching the show for so long and knew some of the zaniness that went on in our show, that he wanted to be a part of it. And look, he'll always be the world's biggest 14-year-old, okay? Guy loves to have a good time, loves to get a billion hits. And so once he figured out that, there is some basketball analysis to do to jump into this, and there is some discussion to be had with Chuck and Kenny, then it's all been fine. I mean, it's hard to remember a time we didn't have the big fella. So yeah, there are always going to be some growing pains, and this was no exception. But the dude is just there. He's got a heart of gold. He's a wonderful guy to be around, and we go back a long way to back then when he was at LSU and was. I remember going to San Antonio and interviewing him and his family before the draft, and he always brings that up. He says, "You and I go back to 1989." It was actually like 91 or 92, but I'm not going to mess with the narrative. But yeah, so I have for a long time respected him and cannot enjoy anymore having a guy like that on the set with us.
When you talk about analysts and analysis, Ernie, so many young fans, particularly right now, that love ball in general, want more X's and O's, less hot takes, less opinion, more and analysis of what they're actually seeing. For you guys as a show, how do you find the line between giving people X's and O's and just giving people entertainment?
I think there's a mix in there. I think it was established many years ago when, look, Chuck changed the landscape of these studio shows, and he was not shy about saying, "Man, that game was terrible. I don't even want to talk about it." And he would talk about something else, and so that allowed us to go outside the boundaries and talk about whatever was going on in the world, and I just think we're all old school enough to realize that we don't need to come on and say something that's going to get everybody wagging. Sometimes it's going to happen. And sometimes Chuck and Shaq are going to say something, but it's not like this need or this desire to, I'm going to give this hot take and see what people say. I have tired of that. And that's why I can't just sit and listen to sports talk. Drives me crazy. If there's good discussion going on, that's fine. But just to get on shout something out and see what kind of reaction it gets. I'm not a fan.
I think what resonates so much for fans with your show is just the earnestness of it all. The fact that it is just your
Oh, I see what you
genuine
did there.
personalities.
Uh-huh.
You like that?
Mhm.
You like
Yeah,
that? That wasn't
yeah.
even intentional, but I'll take
Yeah.
credit for it being intentional.
That's like our
Um,
show. A lot of times what we do is unintentional, and that's what gets people talking. But go ahead.
I'll
I
take credit
interrupted
for it
you.
regardless.
Yeah.
No. Good point there. I'm glad you pointed that out. But I think so many people watching your show feel like they know you all, feel like they might just be pulling up a chair to your table and just enjoying the conversation. But what is maybe something about the crew or about the Chuckster, as you call him, that maybe some people might not know?
Well, I mean, look, Chuck is neck deep into all sports. He will stun you every now and then when you're just talking, and he knows how an NHL series is standing and who scored and all this, and then it's like, and hey, I saw so and so won at the French Open. It's like he follows all that stuff like crazy, and he's also a neat freak. And if I ever feel like I need to just, I don't know, get under his skin a little bit, when he steps away from the green room, I might ground up a handful of potato chips and put them on his desk just to see his reaction when he gets back. But he is so into, and I am too. I love a neat office and everything else. But this dude he'll just go to Target and places and see what's new in the cleaning department, and then show up with his Target bag and some new cleanser, that he wants to try out. So, but everything else, I mean, we've been around enough that you pretty much know me and Shaq and Kenny and Chuck just from watching the show. And I think the folks that you see on TV nightly, that's basically who we are in real life. And I learned that from my dad. My dad was a broadcaster forever. And he always just told me, be yourself. Don't try to be something you're not. And I think, folks used to come up to me and say, man, I heard your dad last night on the Braves game. And then I saw him today at the drugstore. He sounds just like he does when he's doing the game. And because he was genuine and natural and not trying to put on any kind of an act because he was on TV or radio.
All right, so obviously you're wearing a Georgia hoodie as you hang out with us. We all know that this is a part of your life. There we go. You busted that out during your appearance, college game day. You were out there. You nailed the prediction on this. So talk to me a little bit. What was it like just being on that game day set and that experience for you?
It was tremendous. It really was. And, because I've watched it forever and really like those guys. It's fun to watch them. And the show is as entertaining as anything gets. If there's, yearly, if we're going to, we're up against these guys a lot of times for show Emmys and that kind of thing. I never mind losing to those dudes because I think they're great. But to go down there and see what an undertaking it is to have that show on. I mean, they've got a legion of people involved. And I've known Coach Saban, I know Herbie and Reese and I knew Desmond a little bit, but yeah, to sit there and do that. And I tried to bring something to every game that we were going to do. And so then I tried to sucker my Georgia fans into it. I said, look, I went to Georgia and everything else. I said, but man, I see a late Alabama touchdown in that game, cutting the deficit to 17. As it turns out, it cut it to 14. So I was sitting at home saying, man, if I nail this thing, that's going to be amazing. But it came pretty close.
Oh, it's incredible stuff. Go ahead, Caroline. Sorry.
Yeah, last one for you. I have been saying, Ernie, I just might think Curt Cignetti has taken Kirby Smart's throne as the best coach in college football. What do you have to say about that?
really, what's your question?
Oh,
Google him,
Yes,
Ernie.
it
He
feels good.
wins.
Hey, you know what? You know what's crazy too? You know Adam Lefko, who does our TNT studio stuff.
Yeah, of course.
He texted me the other day. He said, "I'm getting some Ernie Johnson vibes when I see Kurt Signetti." And I said, "You're not the first one to say it. I guess there might be a little bit of a resemblance there. I don't know, but no, he did such an amazing job with that team, and what a wonderful story it is. It's just you love seeing that, and I would have loved seeing Georgia play Miami with a chance to go to the championship game, but that didn't happen. But the playoff was awesome, and to see what Coach did with those Hoosiers, and to bring a football championship to that basketball crazy state, that's a great story. I don't care who you're pulling for. That's a heck of a story.
Ernie, I can tell you for sure, you smile a heck of a lot more than Coach does. We appreciate your time. We appreciate you hanging out. Mostly, we appreciate your work. I just for a second, for all of us that get to watch what you do, we're thankful for it. That show has become so iconic for a reason. You're iconic for a reason. We just appreciate your time, and we appreciate your gift and all that you've given us with Inside the NBA. Thanks for hanging out with us.
No, it's very kind of you. Caroline, thanks a lot. Jason, thank you very much. And
thank you,
one
Ernie.
of these days I need to interview you because I think your story is unbelievable. I'd love to sit around and just talk music with you. So thanks for having
my
me
honor.
on.
You tell me where to fly, and I'll be there just so we can hang out anytime, Ernie. Thank you so much.
Tremendous.
I appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Love
it's
you.
Great stuff from Ernie. I don't know how you top that. We don't. But we'll try and talk a little bit of NBA next. The Rockets top the Spurs. Big fourth quarter. We'll tell you what it means.
Penn State has imported Iowa State. It's the best way I could explain it. Penn State has now taken Rocco Beck. They took RB1. They took wide receiver 1. They took 3 offensive linemen. I detest that this is how college football works at the moment, but it's the way it works at the moment. And that is when you take a head coach, part of the thinking behind hiring the head coach is who he can bring with him. And in Matt Campbell's case, it was basically whoever he wants.
I'm very fascinated to see which direction they go here, because I think that Roman, this is the deal with him. He's not terrible. He's not offensive as an offensive coordinator, but he can get you to a certain point. You need somebody else to get you to the next point. I think he's done a good job with Herbert, getting him to run more and getting him to push the ball down the field. Now I'd like to see, someone kind of just, again, give him some more quicker options. That's the type of stuff I'd like to see from the next coach.
Tom Aspinall, Cyril Gahn, that needs to be resolved, right? Hamzat Shemaev versus Sean Strickland. But I will accept Hamzat Shemaev versus Fluffy Hernandez. If Fluffy beats Sean Strickland, I'll take either of those. Here's another one of my, but you accept these as secondary.
100%.
Armin Sarukian versus UFC lightweight champion. We cannot just keep having Armin doing grappling matches and eating and all this stuff. He
I'm
must
kind of okay
fight
with
for
it.
No, I'm not.
No,
I know you love it.
You get the first pick in the underrated player draft. Who are you taking?
Jalen Duren has never made an All-Star game. He's never made an All-NBA team. He's gotten so much better as a scorer this year. Jalen Duren is like a legit All-Star this year. And so because everybody talks about the Detroit situation like it's trash and Cade Cunningham, I'm going to say he's still a little bit underrated, and he's my number 1 pick.
What's up, Jason and Caroline? Here's what happened while you were sleeping in the NBA. The I-10 rivalry was back Tuesday night with the 2nd-seeded Spurs traveling to Houston to face the 5th-seeded Rockets. San Antonio came out swinging, even on the second night of a back-to-back. Wemby dropped 12 points in the first half, and Julian Champagnie lit it up from deep with 7 threes, helping the Spurs build out a double-digit lead. But the Rockets didn't fold. Former Kentucky star Reed Sheppard sparked a comeback, scoring 12 of his 21 points in the fourth quarter. Alperen Şengün fell 1 assist shy of a triple-double as Houston stormed back to win it 111-106, tying the series at 1 apiece. Wemby, though, finished just 5 for 21 from the field, with only 6 of those shots coming from the paint. another physical team, and another off night for Wemby. So was this just fatigue on the night of a back-to-back, or are teams possibly starting to figure out how to guard him? Let me know your thoughts. Back to you.
Thanks, Titus. A great question by him as we try and figure this out. Like, we have a weird night for Wemby in a loss, and that's going to make everybody overreact. What do you think, Caroline? Do you believe that the league is figuring out Victor Wembanyama?
I don't know if it is really ever possible to truly figure out how to limit or stop Victor Wembanyama. But when you just heard the stat line there, 5 for 21. I think that it could be a couple of reasons. Have they figured out how to maybe slow Wemby down? Sure, I could buy into that to a certain extent. But also, I have to ask, is Wemby 100%? I mean, Wemby missed 12 games earlier in the season for the calf strain. He's been on a bit of a pitch count recently. Is he banged up? It is a back-to-back. Is he exhausted? I mean, Wemby is such a physical anomaly. I do have to ask those questions when we see performances like that. Is it a little bit of really good defense, or is it a little bit of Wemby just isn't 100%?
Yeah, and I think part of this is, to me, the question is the league figuring out Wemby? And maybe the question is, should we still be allowing Wemby to figure out the league? Like, I get that we have these lofty expectations, but you're talking about a 22-year-old that's still figuring out what it's like to be a professional basketball player. Like, we expect somebody to walk in and just automatically dominate from day one. And I guess my question to that is, like, was Kobe who Kobe was going to be in year 2? You certainly saw flashes. You certainly understood it. But his points, his minutes overall, his points, all of these things were things that gradually got better for Kobe in years 1, 2, and 3 before he really hit his stride as who he was going to be as a player. I realize that we live in a right now society, and we've seen so much of Wemby over the course of the last 2 years, so much talk, even on this show. Let's be honest for a second. At the beginning of this year, does Wemby need to be the face of the NBA? We were having those conversations. Yeah. And I think it's fair to look at it right now and say, hey, at his best, Victor Wembanyama is unstoppable. And he showed that last night when he made Capella look like a fella with a massive dunk that just absolutely belongs on every poster in every kid's bedroom for the next 10 years. It was epic. It was incredible. But that was one little moment. For Wemby to be able to figure out how to get through the doldrums of the middle of the NBA season and the physicality of the game, like, just understand that he's 22. I just think a little grace goes a long way in understanding that who Wemby is today at 22 is nowhere near who he's going to be in 6 years.
And I think we have to allow him that too. And also consider, not just the age, but the level of experience. Wemby's missed a lot of basketball games. Like, that hinders development to a certain extent. And yes, I know that we all look at Victor Wembanyama, where he was drafted, just his sheer size, his sheer presence on the court. And we all just kind of assume that, that looks like a grown man. So that's a grown man that has everything figured out. And maybe that's not a fair, I know it's definitely not a fair assessment. And I would say that exact same thing about any young player in the league. I said the exact same thing about Cooper Flagg earlier this season. I'm like, look, the kid's 18, 19 years old and a rookie. How about instead of making any of these massive sweeping judgments about his projections in this league or about what he can do for the Dallas Mavericks or what Wemby can do for the Spurs, how about we just take a step back and allow some of these young players to just figure it out and to just develop? Wemby still has the opportunity and ability to totally and completely take games over. We have seen that. That ability hasn't just gone somewhere overnight. Wemby's going to have some games where he gets limited. Wemby's going to have some games where he doesn't look 100%, and it's probably because he isn't 100%. I just think we can't miss the forest for the trees here and overreact to one game or a cluster of games or a month or whatever it might be of a sample size of Wemby, and just take a zoom out and take a step back and just maybe look at the body of work in its entirety.
Yeah, this is a moment. We just got to remember that who Wemby is today is just part of the growth process of who Wemby is long term. He's not going to become a legend overnight. We'll have a little bit of patience. It goes a long way. All right, coming up, we've got a wild AFC Championship matchup coming this weekend. Tail of the tape We'll take a look at it, figure out who actually has the edge going into this one.
At the very top of my list, we need finality to Aspinall versus Gunn.
Yeah.
We need finality to this.
Have to.
I just want to see this fight play out because guess what? It was a very entertaining fight and it was playing out in a way that I think a lot of people didn't think it would play out. So I need to see that fight. I have to see that fight. The division needs to see that fight. They both need to see that fight. They both earned it and deserved it, and we can't move on without that fight.
Do the Spurs still take Dylan Harper over Con Knippel and VJ Edgecombe?
I think for me, if I was to do it all over again, I would still take the best pick available, and that is Dylan Harper. I mean, you see, he just is such an elite creator.
Prior to the draft, Mo, I was pretty consistent in saying that I would trade down and take a Con Knippel. Con at 4, I still think would have been the best possible outcome for San Antonio, and I feel that way even more strongly at this point.
All football teams are dams. Some of them have a ton of cracks. Some of them have a few cracks. It's all about who faces enough water pressure from their schedule to expose the cracks. Most of the time when you're playing in the Big Ten or the SEC, you're going to face several tests that will expose your cracks. I don't think Ohio State did this year. They faced Texas early in the year, and they just never faced enough pressure to expose the cracks.
Did you notice that the scoring totals had fallen in the new year, that the New Year's resolution apparently was to bring physicality back?
A couple of years ago when it was all of a sudden everybody scored 50, 60, 70. And then like the air went out of the ball for a month. And it was like in the middle of the season, the way the rules were being called kind of changed and scoring started to drop.
Look, to be fair, Dan, it could be, hey, everyone just magically figured out how to play legal defense.
Either Drake May or Jarrett Stidham will have a Super Bowl appearance before Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Dak Prescott, Justin Herbert, or the entire Lions franchise. BetMGM out here trolling everybody a little bit. We get an AFC Championship matchup that feels a little different, admittedly, with Stiddy in at the quarterback position. So we're going to do what we like to do. We're going to take it group by group, and we're going to do a little tail of the tape, figure out who's going to win this Patriots at Broncos matchup. You see it there, Patriots at Broncos. Who gets the roses here? Who gets which from us? Coaching. All right, coaching advantage. Are you going to give the coaching advantage to the Patriots or to the Broncos?
The Broncos. I think that Sean Payton has the coaching advantage here, and I have been incredibly consistent in one thing, and that is I value experience and I value proof of concept. Look, Mike Vrabel's been around, but Sean Payton's won a Super Bowl. Sean Payton's been around longer than Mike Vrabel has. Sean Payton was a coach when Mike Vrabel was still playing in the league. So I will say I will defer to Sean Payton. And also, look, we got some history with Mike Vrabel here. I used to live in Nashville. I used to be on the radio in Nashville, and I used to cover Mike Vrabel and that Titans team every single day for a living. I started to grow a little bit of a distrust in Mike Vrabel at times. We kind of developed this thing called the Vrabel special. You win a game you have no business winning, and then you lose a game that you have no business losing. That's not to say that Mike Vrabel can't learn from those mistakes, and that's not to say that a really good team can maybe cover up some of those tactical deficiencies, but I can say that I have some history with Vrabel where I don't have the most trust with him on any given Sunday. So I will say slight advantage to Sean Payton, though, because I really admire and respect what Mike Vrabel's been able to do and turn around in New England.
Look, you've got the right answer, but the wrong couching on it. Like, this is a blowout, and it's not even close to me. And look, Patriots fans, before you at me with this, let me just ask you, was your organization going to be willing to trade multiple first-round draft picks to acquire that coach? Because that's what the Broncos were willing to do, whatever it takes to trade for Sean Payton for a reason. I don't. As good as Vrabel is this year, and as much as I respect the Patriots, Vrabel has never had a Super Bowl. Like Sean Payton's just seen in a different life. If Sean Payton retires today, he's going to be a Hall of Famer. If Mike Vrabel quits today, is he going to be a Hall of Famer? No, there's just no. Like, we're not even anywhere near that. Sean Payton is such a better, at this point, legacy coach. Sean Payton right now, I think, is doing every bit the job, if not more, that Vrabel is doing. Also, the fact that Sean Payton immediately turned this Broncos team around, which to me is something we under-talk about. It takes so much to turn a franchise into where they need to be, and I thought there'd be this long growth process. There hasn't. They ripped this thing apart, and they fixed it quickly. So, I think there's
Didn't
a huge
Vrabel do
advantage
that?
to Sean Payton. Vrabel did. Vrabel did that. The difference is Vrabel had a quarterback in place, and Josh McDaniels came in and helped him with it. And they spent all the money in the offseason this year. Also, the Patriots have played the easiest schedule in the entire NFL. I'm not, like, again, this all sounds like I'm Patriot hating. I'm sitting here with the Raiders helmet to me. So, like, anybody that wants to accuse me of being a Patriots hater, you think I'm suddenly rooting for the Broncos? Like, that is not in my blood. I just think that we are if we're sitting here a year from now, and the Patriots have turned into this sustainably, then we have a real conversation about the great job that Mike Vrabel is doing. But a year ago, everybody was convinced that the Washington Commanders had turned it all around. So I'm not going to sit here and put Vrabel in the same category as Sean Payton when right now there's the equal chance that he could end up in the same category as Dan Quinn to me. So I go Team Payton on this. What about running backs? Who do you give the advantage to there?
The Patriots. You look at Ramondre Stevenson and Travion Henderson. I mean, I think such a big reason why Drake May has been as cool, calm, and collected as he's been, as reliable as he has been, is because he has that duo of running backs to kind of lean back on. Now, the Patriots' run game has been so consistent, has been so reliable, and it's also a two-headed monster. Those two running backs do have the ability to take the game over to where the Patriots don't have to ask too much of Drake May. Now, if they want to ask more of Drake May has proven that he can also step up and win a game with his arm if and when he needs to. But I defer to those Patriots running backs, especially with some of the injuries that we've seen in Denver.
Yeah, and if you look at the yards per carry over the last 6 weeks of the season, the Patriots have been absolutely on fire. They have a huge advantage here. I'm Team Patriots running backs for sure. So we agree on that one. Team pass catchers. So we'll take weapons here, pass catchers, tight ends, sort of all together. Who do you give the advantage to in the pass catching category?
This one was difficult. I think this one of all of these categories was the closest to a wash as possible. But I can't believe I'm saying this. I think I defer to Stephon Diggs. I haven't said that very, very many times in my lifetime. I defer to Stephon Diggs. I defer to the reliability of Hunter Henry. Also, can we take a minute and talk about Kayshon Boutte? Kayshon Boutte had one of an incredible catch against the Houston Texans last week. Kayshon Boutte also has the ability to be a 100-plus yard catch guy on any given night. He has that kind of stretch the field ability. He has that home run ability, because if Stephon Diggs is going to be doubled, that's fine. Kayshon Boutte can step up, and Hunter Henry can kind of be that check down kind of guy who's going to be lined up a little bit closer to the line of scrimmage. So I just feel like this Patriots pass catching unit is more versatile and maybe even more reliable than this Denver unit.
Yeah, and you're so right about, especially the way it's looked over the last month. Again, like, it feels like everything is just, that's one of the biggest question marks we had was, do they have the weapons that they really need? And they've answered a lot of that.
Developed.
I went back and forth on this, but I think this is, of all the categories we have, this is the toughest one for me. I really love Courtland Sutton. So I took your Diggs and Courtland Sutton. I think you're right on Diggs, but I sort of put Diggs and Sutton in that same category. We don't know at this point, Troy Franklin, little Jordan Humphrey, somebody that's had a few moments. Evan Ingram, tight end, I liked a lot. This felt almost like a tie to me. I went with the Broncos, but the funny thing was, as you talked, I was like, I probably should have picked the Patriots. This one is so 50-50 to me. It's just, I think it's win-win for both sides. They're about the same in this process, which then brings us to the defense in it. So who do you give the defensive edge to, tail of the tape in this game?
The Broncos give the defensive edge. I mean, I think the Broncos defense is one of the best defenses in the NFL. Now that the Texans have been eliminated, I think it's fair to say the Broncos have the best defense remaining, competing with the Seahawks, the best defense remaining in the entire NFL postseason. But I do want to acknowledge that is closer now between these two teams than it was a month ago. If you just break down the numbers, and I understand the draw that the Patriots have gotten in the postseason, you get a banged up Chargers team and then a Texans team with a quarterback who's kind of playing double agent there with CJ Stroud throwing 4 picks in a single half. What are we doing? And while the Broncos get Josh Allen and the Bills. But the Patriots now have allowed the second fewest yards of any defensive unit in the postseason so far. That's only behind the Houston Texans. The Patriots have gotten home and sacked the quarterback more than any other defense in the NFL postseason. This Patriots defense has really evolved over the last month and some change. So it is the Broncos. Let me just say, it is the Broncos. But it's closer than I imagined that it would have been this time a month ago.
Yeah, you're 1,000% right, because I think, to me, I gave the edge here to the Broncos because I believe their defense is better. But to your point, the Patriots defense has played better in the last month than the Broncos defense has. This is a defense that down the stretch for the Broncos wasn't quite what everybody expected them to be, and put them in some situations where they asked a lot of Bo Nix to go in and save them in some games. This is a defense. We could sit here all day long and talk about how terrible CJ Stroud was. He was terrible in that game. And part of that's on the shoulders of CJ Stroud. Part of that, though, is also the fact that the Patriots defense just absolutely was lights out in that game. So, if we go back to our coaching conversation, where Mike Vrabel does show his skill as a coach, I think, is particularly the way his defenses play. And this defense is on fire. So I think the Broncos defense is better, but I think the Patriots defense is hotter right now, which gets us to this game being really hard for me to pick because, frankly, if we had everything healthy, if we knew that we had Bo Nix in this game, maybe a slightly different conversation. But now's when we do have to acknowledge we have Jarrett Stidham, a backup quarterback that hasn't played in a couple of years, even though he's been in the system, even though the building loves him. So now that we've gone through all of this, who actually wins this game to you?
New England. I can't pick in good faith a backup quarterback to win a conference championship game. Not against a defense that you and I both just laid out right here is playing its best brand of football of the entirety of the season. Not when the team that they're going to be facing has a starting quarterback who might win league MVP. Not when I just said I think that their running backs and pass catchers are better than Denver's. That's not to say that it's an impossibility for Jarrett Stidham to win one game for Denver to punch their ticket to the Super Bowl. Sure, I could see a world where that happens. But if I have to pick it, if I have to put my foot in the mud and put my fist on the table for one of these two teams, it's gonna be the team with a potential league MVP and a defense playing lights out, not the backup that hasn't attempted a pass since 2023.
Your logic is sound, and I still go the other way because, to me, I keep thinking about
you're riding the Jarrett Stidham train?
I'm steady to the Super Bowl. Jarrett Stidham headed to the Super Bowl. I can't believe I'm saying that. For me, a lot of this comes down to me either. 14 fumbles for Drake May this year. 14 fumbles led the NFL. Yeah. I think you get a charged up Broncos defense that knows they don't have a lot of wiggle room. I think you get a charged up Broncos defense that's going to be flying on all cylinders. I think there's an opportunity to create mistakes. Now, that means I'm also presuming that a backup quarterback isn't going to make mistakes against the Patriots. I don't know. The rest of this team and my belief in Sean Payton, I still think top to bottom, it's a better football team in Denver than it is in New England. This game in Denver, somehow, some way, I think Jarrett Stidham is about to go to the Super Bowl, which is going to be ugly for all of us, but and weird for Broncos fans to try and figure out how to negotiate. Bo Nix didn't get you to the Super Bowl. Jarrett Stidham did. But, yeah, I'll ride with the Broncos. The more I say it, Caroline, the less comfortable I am with it. But I'll ride with the Broncos in a close, ugly football game.
Hey, put 10 toes down, Fitz. You said it. You be comfortable with it. You let that Jarrett Stidham flag fly. And to your point, Drake May does have 14 fumbles this season. Jarrett Stidham doesn't have any. He also doesn't have any playing time, but he doesn't have any fumbles.
Jarrett Stidham doesn't have a single incompletion this year. So how about that?
Or an
come at me with that,
interception.
bros. There
Flawless
we go.
record
See?
for Jarrett Stidham.
It's flawless. Jarrett Stidham is flawless. Coming up next, not flawless, the All-Star game. Who got snubbed? Who didn't? The answer might surprise you. I'll tell you about it next.
One school that's doing some work in there right now, very quietly, is the Florida Gators. At the time of us taping this, Florida is sitting there with a top 10 class. And you're like, JD, wait a second. Florida's got a top 10 class? Who have they added? And I think this portal class in general for John Summerall is a good reflection of just the overall vibe, attitude, persona of what you're going to get from John Summerall during his time in Gainesville.
And I've been thinking about the Denver Nuggets here for a little bit. Jamal Murray's gonna have to carry the torch during this program. Like I know it's the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air looking around and no furniture around, but hey, he's gonna have to figure it out. What I will say that helps Denver is the return of this version of Aaron Gordon. And I very specifically mean this version of Aaron Gordon. And I know you might have a twinge of concern that he may do too much, but it was good early and they need it now.
Have you had a chance to kind of unpack all of it?
Yeah, I don't know that I have yet. I think it's just another reminder of how wild pro football can be. I've lived it so many times. I mean, I think going back a little over 2 years ago when I tore my Achilles to now, there's been a lot of curveballs and a lot of change. And I was told a long time ago in pro football, you got to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And I'm reminded of that time and again.
How long do you feel like that window is with Lamar, though?
I think you can get 2 more years of Lamar as a locked-in top 5 guy. And then I think after that is when it's like, okay, maybe he ages to more being a top 12 guy, which is still good. Maybe more of a tier 2 guy in my brain. And then it kind of ages from there. Russ went from like a tier 2 guy that fell off to a tier 3, tier 4 guy. You're going to have that drop off at some point in your career.
The NBA All-Star starters have been announced. You see the list there. It's a general who's who across the board of the NBA. A lot of star power on this starting list, but it gives us the chance to do an All-Star edition of Triple Threat, where we shoot, pass, or dribble on 3 different NBA takes. So shoot means we're buying it. We're taking it. We're shooting. Pass means we don't. All right, we're getting rid of it. Dribble means we want to wait and see. So let's take a look at some of these notable starters and then get some topics in here. First and foremost, shoot, pass, or dribble. Caroline Fenton. LeBron should be selected as an all-star reserve. Shoot, pass, or dribble.
Pass. Hard pass. I'm flinging that sucker into the stands. LeBron James gets everything because he's LeBron James. And if he got an all-star nod, he would also be getting that just because he's LeBron James. Look, LeBron's played in 25 games this year. LeBron doesn't have the numbers to be an all-star. And you look at the all-stars in the West, who would LeBron James be replacing? And LeBron was asked about this, if not last night, the night before. LeBron was asked, like, do you want to be an all-star? And he said, well, if I got voted in, then I would be in attendance. I would be in attendance? LeBron wouldn't even play if he was voted in as an all-star. So what's the point of being named a starter if he's not going to play? I don't think LeBron cares about being an all-star. Honestly, I think LeBron just wants to chill. LeBron wants to go golf. LeBron wants to go to Cabo. Let him do it. Like, LeBron doesn't want to be in the All-Star game, and I think the NBA All-Star game is really hurting because it's full of a lot of players who just DGAF. It's fun to watch these games when there's players that actually care about playing in it. And this isn't a knock on LeBron. This is not an anti-LeBron sentiment, but LeBron doesn't want to be there. He doesn't have the accolades this season to be there. So hard pass on LeBron LeBron should be selected as an all-star reserve.
Yeah, look, I pass on this also because I don't think you sympathy reserve invite somebody to this either. Like if our great producer Mike Goldfarb and if Goldfarb and I are out at dinner and we post on social media and then Caroline sends us a text and she's like, why wasn't I invited? Oh my God, totally didn't think about it. Come on. Nope. No, there's no way. Like, you can't
No, thanks.
you can't turn around and be like, "Oh man, sorry, LeBron. Come on, we forgot about you, buddy." Like that. There's no way that you do that, and it isn't even more disrespectful. So I'm hard passing on this. Also, like, this is hot potato. Somebody tried to pass me this, and I wanted nothing to do with it. LeBron needs to have absolutely nothing to do with the All-Star game this year. And that's fine. Let the actual All-Stars go and ruin the festivities themselves. All right, let's get to the next one. Shoot, pass, or dribble on this. How about this one? Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell should have been selected as an All-Star starter. Shoot, pass, or dribble?
I'll shoot on that. I do think Donovan Mitchell was snubbed. I mean, Donovan Mitchell is averaging 30 points a game. That's his career high. He's shooting 40% from three. He's averaging six assists a game. He's tied for second in the East in estimated plus minus. He is the third amongst all NBA players in estimated wins. Only Jokic and SGA have a higher estimated win number. And Donovan Mitchell does have the numbers. Now, look, I understand it's a pretty packed East. So your question might be who you taking out if you're adding in Donovan Mitchell. And I think that's a very fair pushback. I think Tyrese Maxey would be the one. I just feel like at this point, Donovan Mitchell is being penalized in an all-star nod because he plays for a team that's not winning games. But that's not Donovan Mitchell's fault. Donovan Mitchell is doing everything that he can to win games for the Cavs. They're just not winning games. And an all-star nod is an individual nod. I don't think it should be tied to the success or the win-loss record of your team. And that's going against Donovan Mitchell. And frankly, I don't think that's fair. I do think that he does have the numbers to have earned a spot as a starter in the East.
Yeah, I wouldn't have had a problem if he was named. I don't have a problem that he wasn't. And you're right, this is him versus Tyrese Maxey. And some of the advanced analytics have these two wildly close. So knowing that they're wildly close, then my question really becomes, how do we tell the story of what's happened so far this year? So I would ask anybody, if you've been watching us since we launched in August, how many times have we had a Tyrese Maxey conversation versus how many times have we had a ... Donovan Mitchell conversation? So I hear you, and I think you're right that it's an individual award and it shouldn't be tied just to team performance. But the fact that Tyrese Maxey is, frankly, playing above the skis of where he was expected so far this year, and so is Philly in the process, I think all of those become extra feathers in the cap for the case for Tyrese Maxey. And I get it. Like, third leading scorer in the East, 29.2 points per game. And the concept is that the Cavs, he's not there because the Cavs are underachieving. I also think that disrespects a little bit of what Maxey has done overall. If you look at the efficiency numbers on offense and defense and you combine them to the usage numbers, these two players are about the same. If you look at their value numbers from advanced analytics in the NBA, these two players are about the same. So if the tie does go to, if we're going to look at everything being equal, and I think it's so close that we're really splitting hairs, if we're going to look at everything equal, then I do think the question of, well, who's been the bigger story in the NBA this year is okay to be part of the delineation for how we pick our starters. So I'll actually pass that he was snubbed. I think, again, wouldn't have had a hard time if he was in. I don't have a hard time that he's out. Let's see if we can be how we feel on the other side of the spectrum, though. What about Anthony Edwards? And the face of the league, Anthony Edwards should have been selected as an all-star starter. Do we shoot, pass, or dribble this?
I'm dribbling on that. Because I kind of look at all-stars very similar how I look at the Hall of Fame. If you just ask, is this guy an all-star? You should be able to say yes or no. And when you ask me, is Ant an all-star? My initial reaction is, yeah, Anthony Edwards is an all-star, period. Let's peel back the tape a little bit. Let's look at the numbers. Let's look at the actual analytics of everything. He does have the numbers. He's averaging 30 points a game. Now, you could nitpick and say he's only played in 34 games this year, I believe. And yeah, that is fair. My question is, though, because I do think he deserves to be an all-star, my question would be, who would he be in place of? He's not going in place of SGA. He's not going in place of Jokic. He's not going in place of Luka. He's not going in place of Wemby. So then you can bring up the comparisons with Steph. Does Ant deserve to be an all-star more than Steph Curry? If you look at the numbers, yeah. Ant is averaging more points a game. Ant is averaging more total rebounds a game. Now, Steph is averaging more assists per game, but in almost every single statistical category, whether it's just box score or advanced analytic, it's in favor of Anthony Edwards. So I dribble on it because I don't know if I could see a world in which Steph Curry is not an all-star. But also, if we want to just go by the pure numbers, Ant probably deserved it more than Steph did.
Well, and we see here he lost a tiebreaker vote to Victor Wembanyama because of fan voting. I have no problem with that. And to me, this is just there's been a desperate attempt ever since Ant really came on the scene to make Ant a superstar that transcends, that everybody's going to stop and watch. Everybody wants to make Ant destination. So you look at it and you say, okay, well, we want to make Ant destination. He should be an all-star. To your point, Caroline, Steph is destination. And frankly, I don't know how many more all-star games I'm going to get to see Steph Curry in. So I'd rather see Steph than Ant. That one's pretty easy for me. If the answer is Wemby versus Ant in this process, again, I'll ask the same question I just asked about the East. How many times on this show or on whatever your favorite show is, how many times have you turned on any NBA show this year and had a topic, a conversation, a long block, a graphic, a highlight involving Victor Wembanyama? Now, ... how many times this season have we done the same thing for Ant? It's just there is some level of all of this is at some point exposure and human instinct matter. We're all regular people voting on this. So when you think of the league this year, you think of Wemby. So I don't really care if the fan vote is the one that had to break this tie. I'd rather see Wemby at this point in the All-Star game because when I think of this season, I think of Wemby far more than I think of Ant. Like it doesn't mean that Anthony Edwards isn't great. I just feel like we have been desperately trying to prop up Anthony Edwards into the elite into the name brand recognition status of the Lukas and LeBrons of the league for the last couple of years. It's not happening that quickly. It's going to take more time. And I think the outrage here, if it was not Anthony Edwards, but it was somebody else with the exact same stats, I don't know that people would be worried about it.
Well, and I do hear you on the fan vote. Like, this is a game for the fans. And the NBA has an all-star game interest crisis. So if you want to put in the most popular players so people will actually watch and care about it, fine by me. I hear you on the logic on Steph, that we don't know how many all-star games we're going to have left to watch Steph. And I get that. There is a certain level of let's enjoy watching the greatness while we have it. But we don't feel that way about LeBron. Like, I don't know how many all-star games we're going to have left to watch LeBron, but here we are saying, well, hey, too bad, so sad. Like, it's not like we're applying that same sort of nostalgia to LeBron in the all-star game. Because I kind of view Steph and LeBron in a very similar light here.
Well, Steph has played much better this year to me, much more consistently to me this year than LeBron. I realize that Golden State hasn't been great, but Steph has still been night in and night out. Steph. LeBron has had LeBron is the third best player on his LeBron's been the third best player on his own team. So for the majority of this season, LeBron is the third most important Laker to their success on the court. There's never a world this year where Steph is anything less than the most important player on the court for Golden State. He's getting a lot of help, and he's still doing his thing. So I think that's why I'm not trying to force LeBron into the conversation, because I think very clearly LeBron's nowhere near deserving. This is a little like the college football committee saying, well, we didn't talk about those two teams because they weren't in the same category. Like, if I'm talking about just the bucket of all-stars, LeBron didn't even get an invite to the bucket party. Like, he's just not there. He finds out about it later from everybody else. Ant is in the party with Steph. And then, I'm looking around at Ant and Steph and asking, okay, at this point, is there a market difference that would justify Steph being left out for Ant? I struggle with that. But you're right. Like, I don't assign the same nostalgia this year for what we're seeing from Steph and LeBron. I've got them in two very different categories.
I also feel like Steph cares more about the All-Star game. And look, it's not a crime for LeBron to not care about the All-Star game. If LeBron would rather golf than be in the All-Star game, then fine. I have zero issue with that. But that is partly the reason why I don't need LeBron as a reserve, because I don't think he necessarily even has any sort of plans to play in the All-Star game, even if he is there. He kind of said as much so as himself. I do think Steph, though, holds that in a high regard.
Yeah, and I think you're right, too, as you've referenced a couple of times, but it's important here. It's hard for me to feel wildly any one way about an all-star snub when the reality of it is contracts are tied to all NBA, so that's a different world. And most players just don't really care. Most fans, just compared to the product on a whole over the course of the regular season, the All-Star game, much like the Pro Bowl, just Doesn't matter anymore. So, like, I
I
want to
wanted
get worked
to.
up for anybody that's a snub. But yeah, I do too.
The NBA All-Star Game used to be must-see TV. It used to be an epic clash of the Titans. But now it just doesn't carry the same level of vibrato that it used to. And I think the root of it is because the players know that this just doesn't matter. The players might look at it and say, man, this is just a higher likelihood for me to get hurt. And let me knock on all of the wood for that. Obviously, you don't ever wish for any player to get hurt. I always compare it, though, to the Four Nations face-off in hockey that we had this past year. And it was awesome. It was awesome because they were dropping gloves and popping each other in the face and playing with even a higher level of physicality that they do in the regular season in the NHL. We don't see that same level of passion or care in the NBA All-Star Game. And I don't necessarily only fault the players for that. Like, that's a league issue too, Fitzy.
Yeah, no, I think at the end of the day, the All-Star Game can never matter today the way it did 25, 30 years ago. When people talk about, it was Magic versus, Michael and all of these things in the All-Star Game. Back then, you only got 1 or 2 NBA games on TV a week for everybody. Satellite didn't even exist to this capacity. There was no league pass, and it was your only chance to see Michael versus Magic probably all year, right? Like that. I just think we forget sometimes in the context that by the nature of the way media was consumed in the 90s, it made the All-Star Game mean more because you got to see stars you didn't see the rest of the year. You can't replicate the fact that now every given night we can watch every single play of every single game. All right, much more to break down, much more to come. Coming up next, though, we're going to talk a little bit of Rams with a diehard Rams fan, Jay Pharoah, Saturday Night Live great, joins us next.
Penn State has imported Iowa State. It's the best way I could explain it. Penn State has now taken Rocco Beck. They took RB1. They took wide receiver 1. They took 3 offensive linemen. I detest that this is how college football works at the moment, but it's the way it works at the moment. And that is when you take a head coach, part of the thinking behind hiring the head coach is who he can bring with him. And in Matt Campbell's case, it was basically whoever he wants.
I'm very fascinated to see which direction they go here because I think that Roman, this is the deal with him. He's not terrible. He's not offensive as an offensive coordinator, but he can get you to a certain point. You need somebody else to get you to the next point. I think he's done a good job with Herbert getting him to run more and getting him to push the ball down the field. Now I'd like to see, someone kind of just, again, give him some more quicker options. That's the type of stuff I'd like to see from the next coach.
Tom Aspinall, Cyril Gahn, that needs to be resolved, right? Hamzat Shemaiah versus Sean Strickland. But I will accept Hamzat Shemaiah versus Fluffy Hernandez. If Fluffy beats Sean Strickland, I'll take either of those. Here's another one of my, but you accept these as secondary.
100%.
Armin Sarukian versus UFC lightweight champion. We cannot just keep having Armin doing grappling matches and eating and all this stuff.
I'm kind of okay with it.
No, I'm not. I know you love it.
You get the first pick in the underrated player draft. Who are you taking?
Jalen Duren has never made an All-Star game. He's never made an All-NBA team. He's gotten so much better as a scorer this year. Jalen Duren is like a legit All-Star this year. And so because everybody talks about the Detroit situation like it's trash and Cade Cunningham, I'm going to say he's still a little bit underrated, and he's my number 1 pick.
Yeah, buddy. That's Jay Pharoah right there, repping his Rams gear. Going to be plenty of famous people out there loving the LA Rams. Absolutely for a big matchup this weekend against the Seahawks in the NFC Championship game. He's going to join us in just a second. We're working out all the technical details here as we're going to have Jay Pharoah joining us. Oh, we have Jay. Look at that. Look at live TV at its finest. Joining us now, stand-up comic,
What's up?
incredible impressionist. 6 seasons on SNL, which, by the way, is life for Caroline and I both. His latest special, Jared, is available to stream on YouTube. Jay, thanks for joining us. We just showed a picture of you with the little Rams beanie. Where's the Rams fandom come from?
Oh, man. Well, it comes from me being from Virginia, us not having an official squad, and me getting into NFL Blitz in the late 90s. That's where the Ram That's where the Rams fanship comes from. I'm not a hop on. I've been a Rams fan for over 25 years, so we ain't doing that. And I think we're gonna do it. I think we're gonna do it this year. We did it in 22. Tears were had. Yes, I was emotional like Carl Thomas because I stayed with my relationship and it panned out the correct way. So I'm thanking my what is it called? My durability as far as relationships go, and this time as well. We still ain't hopping. We're not doing the Commanders or the Baltimore Ravens, baby. No, that's not what we do. We are a Rams fan. I'm from Virginia, and my dad is a Patriots fan. And I remember, I will never forget when the Rams lost to the Patriots by a funky field goal by Adam Genovese. Yo, I was so ticked. Yo, I remember we were on the bus. Everybody was rooting for the Rams in Virginia because, that's certain, like I said, certain things happen. And we lost by that field. Yo, the bus was so quiet. There was one Patriots fan. His name was Jeremy Barats. I don't even know if he's still here. COVID could have got him. I don't know if he's still here. But I know that morning when he got on that bus and he had them 2 American flags, we were all ready to jump them. We were all of us, all the kids on the bus, all 32 of us, we were just looking at this dude like he had the last piece of meat and we were starving. We just looking at him. We just staring at him. We couldn't stand it. So anyway, I am happy. I'm happy what's happening this year. Dude, I think Matthew Stafford has done a great job. Of course, Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams, he's done. Everybody has pulled together. We are a team that when our back is up against the wall, we explode, as you have seen. I think we are the only team that can beat the Seahawks right now. I feel the last time we went against them, but they won by what? A point? A freaking point? A freaking point, man. We're not having that. So this is the third time. The third time's a charm. We're gonna get them. We're gonna get the birds out of here. Birds can't mess with no damn Rams. You ever seen National Geographics? It doesn't happen. Okay, the bird can't pick up a goddamn. Bird can't pick up a goddamn ray. He could try, but ain't gonna pick them up. I've seen a couple of videos where the birds pick up stuff and they drop them on the side of the cliff, but that ain't gonna happen. That is not gonna happen. This is not Animal Planet. That is not happening. The Seahawks, the Hawks cannot mess with the goddamn Rams. I said it. God dang it. Hey, and my trainer is a 49ers fan. Work out, son. Yeah, Jeff. Shout out. How's that gonna work out for you? I feel. Shout out to Jeff. Shout out to Jeff. You know what I'm saying? He's doing a good job, as you can see. We're not gonna lie about that. We got kind of the body thing happen. Shout out to Timu for this very non-expensive hoodie I got on right now. Yeah, I said Timu. Who cares? When it keeps on popping up, when that flash sale keeps on popping up and tells you, oh, you can get $50 off, and then you log on and you get the $50. And then it says $75, and then you spin a wheel, and then it gives you another $25. You can spend about 20 grand. That's all I'm saying when it comes to Timu. That's all I'm saying.
It's impressive to spend that much money on Timu.
I'm being facetious. I ain't spend no $20,000 on damn Timu. Who gonna do that? That's not an advantageous move right there. Why you gonna do that? We got bills. You know what I'm saying? I'd rather get some eggs than buy some clothes off of Timu. You know what I'm saying? Anyway,
smart. In this economy. I do admire though your loyalty to the Rams. You said you're not a hop-on fan. I'm actually a hop-off Rams fan.
No,
I'm from St. Louis. They left my city, and I said, okay, you leave, you're dead to me then. But I have been on the Rams bandwagon this year. Fitz and I have been going back and forth for the last 2 or 3 months about Sam Darnold versus Matthew Stafford. Who's the better team in the NFC West? Who's the better team in the NFL? And I have been on the Rams bandwagon. So you tell Fitz why Matthew Stafford should be MVP.
I think he should be more MVP. I think he should be MVP because I believe, doesn't he have? Isn't it over 84? Is it over 84 touchdown passes that he's thrown this year? Am I wrong about that, or is it over 80? Is that what it is?
80, no, that's a lot. 84 touchdowns
That's a lot.
this year would be
46, but close.
An astronomical. Yeah, 46 does have 46, which is still an astronomical amount, but not 84.
Oh no.
Did we lose him?
No.
I doubted him, and then we lost him for a second. That's the problem. See, I shouldn't have doubted. We should have gone with 84. We should have just let him know that it was 84.
Honestly, 84, he should win MVP. There is no argument that a guy who throws for 84 touchdown passes should win league MVP.
Yeah, and look, I don't blame him for being that excited. I love the spark of Jay Pharoah energy that came into that. We needed that. I wonder, when you're on SNL, Caroline, and your team's headed to the Super Bowl, when you've been on SNL and you're a famous comic and you've got specials out, like, do you just make one phone call and get Super Bowl tickets? Is that the way that works? Or do you have to worry about, well, if I give somebody Super Bowl tickets, they're going to hit me up for tickets somewhere else? You think Jay Pharoah is like, we're going to see there? Jay's back. All right. We got Jay back.
What happened? What happened? I was just in a Get Out movie for like 2 minutes. What happened? What just happened?
That's the power of the World Wide Web. When you are as famous as you are, and your favorite team is going to go to the Super Bowl in your mind, are you just making a phone call to get yourself tickets to that, or do you have to, like, quid pro quo, like somebody hitting you up for tickets?
Yes. Yes, I already called up Stephen A. Smith. I called Stephen A. Smith up last November, and he told me that he was gonna. He said he normally doesn't go, but he's gonna look out for some. He's gonna look for some tickets this year. I said, I don't care how much they cost. You know what I mean? I said, can I get some?
Well, Mr. Pharoah, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that I do a little bit of research to try to get you some tickets, because I know that you are a devoted LA Rams fan and you want to be right there for the action, because that's when all the fun goes down. That's when the fun happens. That's when it happens. I never go, but I get you some tickets. Maybe you can go and get some tickets, but it's a Super Bowl. Yeah, you're not talking about a regular Monday night football day. You're talking about the actual Super Bowl. So yes, I hit up Stephen A. Smith and I had a very long conversation with my friend. That's my friend of many years, about over 13 years we've talked. So yeah.
Or you know what? I got Beyonce ties. I can find somebody to hit up Beyonce, see if I get there. I know Jay-Z running it. I mean, you can't. Jay-Z one of them people. You got to put a smoke signal. If you put a smoke signal out, he'll show up at your house, like the bat signal. You know what I'm saying? He just show up at your house. You know what I mean? You tell him that hey man, I need some tickets. Yeah, you know, he just show up like Santa Claus. You feel me? So yeah, I've hit up. Wait, hold on. It broke when I asked you how many touchdowns did this man was it, because I thought maybe I got it wrong. What was the number?
It was 46.
40.
84
46.
is close.
46. I doubled. See, I almost doubled.
Still very good. But when you set the bar at 84,
fault.
Everything else feels kind of a disappointment.
Hey.
But are the Rams winning the Super Bowl this year?
Hey, maybe. Yeah. I think the Rams are going to win the Super Bowl this year. I think they're going to go. They're going to beat the Seahawks. I think it's going to be the Patriots going. But you know, the Broncos, I mean, they could do it too. They've been playing super hard. They've been playing super hard this year. They've been playing very well. In fact, this has been one of the greatest seasons as far as just watching football games go. They have had some crazy ones. And the last one, god dang it, whole boy, Caleb Williams. Is that Caleb with that? He's insane. He's insane. It's like watching Madden. It's like watching, how did he do? I've never seen anybody do that. He ran back, shook. He shook like three people, they just tossed it up. Like it literally was something out of a video game. He's freaking nice. So the Bears have a real good chance probably next season. They're a young team. I think they finally got all of the key players. They just need a couple of more pieces, and I think that they'll be good for years. You know what I'm saying? The Bears. But they didn't beat the Rams. Sorry. Anyway, Yeah, man. So yeah, we going to the Super Bowl, baby. We going. We can't wait. Yeah.
I'm speechless. This is amazing. Okay, so let's go through some of these. You gave us Stephen A. By the way, you're a noted impressionist. We all know this. This is incredible.
Epic.
And we've known this. All right. So let's get some of your greatness here going. How about this one? All right. We talk a lot about the Knicks because we like ratings, and so Knicks fans, Tracy Morgan. We all know that. Knicks noted Tracy Morgan fan. So how about Tracy Morgan to the locker room to lift up the Knicks after a loss?
Hey, Papa, y'all got to stay in there, Papa. That's all you got to do is stay in there. If you stay in there, keep shooting the basketball, eventually at least one gonna go in.
God, so good.
I'm going to get somebody pregnant tonight at the game. It's gonna be amazing. We're gonna have a thick baby, Papa. See,
So
nobody does Tracy's little laugh that he's got a real childlike laugh that he does, and people don't never capture that. They always just talk like this, like I'm Tracy Morgan, and I'm trying to get my rocks off. I'm trying to get my rocks off like I'm giving a margarita.
So good.
Don't you like margaritas? I love margaritas. I love Bloody Mary. I love Bloody Mary. I was in the bathroom. I called Bloody Mary 3 times because I wanted to see what a white woman was going to be like.
All right. What about this?
So good.
We got to get you to do a hype piece for us, all right? Because we know your rock impression is great. This show is Yahoo Sports Daily. So can you give me a rock promo telling everybody to watch Yahoo Sports Daily? Come on.
If you don't watch Yahoo Sports Daily, I don't know what you're doing with your life, jabroni. I'm the final boss. I finally got a movie that people finally saw me as a main actor and a serious one. And I did that by sacrificing all of the things that it takes to be as big as you know, The Rock. I went from The Rock and I turned into the Pebble. That's what I did. Yeah.
It's amazing. We had Ernie Johnson earlier. We had Ernie Johnson on the show with us earlier today. He was telling us about
Ernie
working
Johnson.
with Shaq all the time. So
Ernie's the best.
you got anything? What Shaq giving a message to Ernie?
I would say this, Ernie, you're one of the best ever. Just keep going. Don't stop it. Do what you do. I love everything you do. I love your project. I'm a big fan. And I'm gonna tell you something else. Ernie, you're looking at this right now. You can tell I'm not staring straight at you. I'm looking all over the world. That's what my eyes do. I stare here, I look here, I look here. I'm like them angels. You know, the angel got a whole bunch of eyes. They can see a whole bunch of stuff. Shot can too. I can see on my back. I got eyes everywhere. I can see everything. I can see everything that's happening. I can see you. So Ernie, keep it up. Keep doing what you're doing. And I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing. With Papa John's. Yeah.
Become him. The eyes and the finger instantly just become him. But you also do such a great Denzel Washington. And look, Fitz has been licking his wounds a little bit. He's a diehard Raiders fan. The Raiders aren't a great football team. So can Denzel Washington just give Fitz a little bit of a pep talk about his lowly Raiders?
Well, I can honestly say this. The fact that you do like this team is very it's disheartening to the ears, you know. The Oakland, the Raiders ain't done a lot in a long time, you know. I think it's time for you to switch. That's right. You need to switch. Get your fantasy team in there. This ain't your fantasy team, it's your official team. Get your fantasy team in there, and maybe you will win something, because you ain't gonna win nothing when you messing with them when you messing with the Raiders. You ain't gonna win nothing, okay? You ain't gonna win nothing. So what you need to do, you need to perk up. You need to get on the Rams squad, huh? Because it sounds better to say, whose house is this? Rams house, huh? And my son played for the team for years. Okay. Yeah, better luck next year, my G. Okay, better luck next year.
You know what? It suddenly feels a little
So
better.
good.
His special is Jared. It's on YouTube.
good.
Check it out. Also, Jay, I know Stephen A. Stephen A's got the hookups. This show is going to be at the Super Bowl, and you should just call your friends here. Maybe we can help you get some Super Bowl tickets. I'm just saying,
Come hang.
know
I mean-
you got new friends better than old friends. I got you.
I'm gonna be honest with you too, and I work for Fox now, so there should be no excuse that I'm not at the Super Bowl. I mean, they got Fox Sports. Why wouldn't I be there? You know what I'm saying? So I feel like they got a suite or something for the celebrity talent, and I should be up in there because I am a celebrity talent on Fox. Third season of Quiz with Balls is about to drop this summer. So we doing it, baby. Employment. Shout out to Fox.
That's
Shout out to
amazing.
him.
Follow him on social media at Jay Pharoah. Jay, we appreciate your time, man. Thanks for making us laugh so much this morning. Good luck to your Rams. I hope they win, just so that we can hang out in San Francisco. Thanks for hanging.
No, they will. There you go. They will.
When, not if.
See, Podemos. Yes, we can. Podemos. See, yes, we can. God dang it, we can. See,
Coming up next, we're going to put some faces to some coordinator names you need to see. We'll do it next. Yahoo Sports Daily.
At the very top of my list, we need finality to Aspinall versus Gunn.
Yeah.
We need finality to
Let's go
this.
show.
Have to.
I just want to see this fight play out because guess what? It was a very entertaining fight and it was playing out in a way that I think a lot of people didn't think it would play out. So I need to see that fight. I have to see that fight. The division needs to see that fight. They both need to see that fight. They both earned it and deserved it, and we can't move on without that fight.
Do the Spurs still take Dylan Harper over Con Knipple and VJ Edgecombe?
I think for me, if I was to do it all over again, I would still take the best pick available, and that is Dylan Harper. I mean, you see he just is such an elite creator.
Prior to the draft, Mo, I was pretty consistent in saying that I would trade down and take a Con Knipple. Con at 4, I still think would have been the best possible outcome for San Antonio, and I feel that way even more strongly at this point.
All football teams are dams. Some of them have a ton of cracks. Some of them have a few cracks. It's all about who faces enough water pressure from their schedule to expose the cracks. Most of the time when you're playing in the Big Ten or the SEC, you're going to face several tests that will expose your cracks. I don't think Ohio State did this year. They faced Texas early in the year, and they just never faced enough pressure to expose the cracks.
Did you notice that the scoring totals had fallen in the new year, that the New Year's resolution apparently was to bring physicality back?
A couple of years ago when it was all of a sudden everybody scored 50, 60, 70. And then like the air went out of the ball for a month. And it was like in the middle of the season, the way the rules were being called kind of changed and scoring started to drop.
Look, to be fair, Dan, it could be, hey, everyone just magically figured out how to play legal defense.
Welcome back to Yahoo Sports Daily. We are in that hiring season for the coaching openings across the NFL with 6 openings remaining, where there are a bunch of offensive and defensive coordinators landing interviews that most of you have no idea anything about. You don't know what they look like. They don't know who they are. You couldn't pick them out of a lineup. And we as a show are here to help. Time to ask the important question you really need to know. Who do these coordinators look like? So Caroline Fenton will pull up a picture of the coordinator, and then we'll figure out who their doppelganger is. Let's take a look at some of the hot names, including Grant Udinski, who is at this point the offensive coordinator for the Jags. Obviously, a big name in Cleveland. A lot of speculation about him there. What do you think? Who's the lookalike?
Yeah, it's not only coaching hiring season, it's also, oh, that guy exists and is a person season, because I did not know that this man existed just a few weeks ago, and now he has dominated so many of my conversations. I'm not going to take Mina Kimes' perfect comp when she said that he looks like Johnny Manziel if he listened to his Better Angel, Chef's Kiss, no notes. I'm going to go the human Shrek. Have you ever seen the Shrek movie when Shrek turns into a real person? That's Grant Udinski.
I like that.
Nice little Shrek, human Shrek hair flow.
Yeah, it's I mean, look, he looks like Jonathan Manziel to me. There's no doubt about it. Like, I'll just say it that.
That's not Johnny.
He looks like yeah,
That's
yeah. No, I
Jonathan.
got my stuff together. I got everything together. I'm Jonathan. I like that one a lot, but I do like Human Shrek. Let's bring up the next
Goldman
one.
Sachs,
Joe
Johnny
Brady.
Manziel.
How about yeah? That is the tie and everything. Joe Brady in. All right. So is there a comp here for somebody you see?
Not like a specific person, but more so a vibe. And Joe Brady gives me big time. Like, if Ed Sheeran had an older brother that was like on the high school wrestling team and was like the less artsy version of Ed Sheeran. He's like the sporty jock version of Ed Sheeran's brother.
Look, this is, now that you see it side by side, I can't unsee it.
Right?
Nobody but me's this big a fan of Below Deck, but I watch a lot of Below Deck on Bravo. There's a guy named Nathan that's the bosun on this season of Below Deck. I don't know if it's a haircut of the beard, spitting image. So I'm all in on that one. Let's get the next one up. Our guy, this show's favorite head coach, Davis Dragon Webb. So Davis Webb out here trying to figure out, okay, from that picture, do you have a lookalike?
Well, I will piggyback off of our producer, Mike Goldfarb, who said that Dragon looks like if Dustin Johnson was poor. I'll follow up with that and say he looks like if Dustin Johnson was hot.
I can see that. Like, I went with Ben Affleck on this one from that particular picture. Like, got the little beard and like,
I see that.
Very, very
For sure.
nondescript, good-looking white guy face. It just has nondescript, good-looking white guy face all across the board. So
he's dreamy.
That made me think of Ben Affleck. I don't know why I went into that one. Also, Dustin Johnson can't love
I see that, though.
particular picture. There's so much anger in that picture. All right. How about Clint
favorable for him.
Kubiak, the offensive coordinator for the Seahawks, who at this point getting I mean, look, he's the hottest name remaining for most people. He's the coveted guy for a lot of different teams, a lot of different fan bases, given, I think, in part the balance of Seattle's offense and some of what they've been able to accomplish this season. So Clint Kubiak, big name, got to be a head coach somewhere. Who do you have as a comp? Anybody stand out to you?
He was the toughest one for me because I feel like he looks like so many different people or characters. Like, he kind of looks like a Pixar character a little bit. I mean, again, I will piggyback off of our producer, Mike Goldfarb. He said Sid from Toy Story. And I definitely see that. Like, I definitely feel like Clint Kubiak's going to be like grilling Barbies in his backyard and disassembling toys. I get those vibes from him.
Yeah, I went with James Murr from Impractical Jokers, but I like the Sid one looks a lot. While we're on Kubiak, how about his brother, Clay Kubiak? Clay is the offensive coordinator for the 49ers. A lot of people don't even realize Clay is a real person. Clay is the other Kubiak, and he is a coordinator that is getting some looks. Do you have a lookalike on this one?
Yeah, I just learned that he existed. So hi, welcome to my universe, Clay Kubiak. Also, don't always have to name all of your kids with the same initial. Just putting that out there. Have you ever seen on TikTok Coop on the Stoop? It's this precious little child who goes out with his dad and like sits on the stoop and eats snacks and watches the garbage truck go by. So Clay Kubiak's like Coop on the Stoop's dad.
I love that. I had gone with Chris Evans, but like 3 a.m., several drinks. Chris Evans. How about Mike LaFleur? There is another LaFleur, not Matt
There is
LaFleur,
another LaFleur.
Mike LaFleur, who I called the Wish.com version of Brad Pitt. Like, if you just eliminate like from here and you go here down, like there's a little Brad. I don't know, but there's a lot of forehead there for that one. I don't know. Do you have a?
It's giving big Timu. Big Timu Brad Pitt. He looks like a Disney adult.
Yeah, he does look like a Disney adult. Yeah.
Person, but he just looks like he would love Disney World, and that's not a compliment.
Yeah. I don't even know what to say to that. There are more, but we're up against it. We're out of time. Here's what I know. I know we will be back tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. I know that there'll be more coaching news because it seems to happen every single day. So come back and hang out with us. She's Caroline Fenton. I'm Jason Fitz. Come back, hang with us tomorrow for more Yahoo Sports Daily. Thanks for watching.
Give us your breakout fighters of 2026.
You're not going to believe that. Number one is Manchester top teams, Atiba Gutierrez. I think he's going to be
the next big African star already is.
He's chiseled out of stone. He's got unbelievable power, great skill, huge for the weight class. Very, very impressive. And again, you speak to the guys over at Manchester Top Team, they could not be more excited about his potential.
Usually I would dunk on a team that's 8-9 going to the playoffs. You don't deserve it. For Carolina, celebrate it. This was a big step forward season. However you got there, you wanted some hope. You wanted something to be happy about. You backed into it, fine. I don't care. The Panthers did have some quality wins this year. They did seem to be making progress. So for the Panthers, hey, step forward, good job, celebrate it. It's a really nice year for the Carolina Panthers to win this division no matter how they did it.
I don't know how anyone could expect Kalen DeBoer to get Alabama back to where Nick Saban had it, because he's not going to. I would suggest to you that had Nick Saban stuck around at Alabama, he wasn't getting Alabama back to where Nick Saban had it a decade prior. And that's Nick literal Saban. I don't think Kirby Smart's getting Georgia back to what Georgia was a few years ago. Dabo's not going to get Clemson back to what Clemson was. It's almost like the entire world has changed.
Oh, let's get to another factory of sadness. The Atlanta Falcons, who fired Raheem Morris after 2 8-9 seasons.
You got Bijan Robinson, you got Drake London. That was what Raheem Morris said when they asked him, why did you take this job?
Yep.
And
That's
you still
it.
got those guys. And you still got those two guys.
Give us your